well, nowadays, and all of this with gender and pronouns, no, it is nothing new. It has been happening for a long time,
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago. It's issues that some of us were dealing with, and now it's gotten out there.
Hey everyone, I caught myself a good one today. Super excited. But before we move forward, again, I want to thank you so much for helping this channel grow, liking, subscribing, getting these to people who really need to see. It's making really, we're making a serious dent in this insanity that's happening. And young people need to see, especially people that I bring on, this person I'm bringing on today. We need people to see this. And it's just scaring me. Some really bad stuff is starting to happen that just should not be happening. And so with that, I just want to thank you again. I don't get these lovely, amazing guests without you guys really putting this out there and helping me get these guests. So with that, I have Anna today, and Anna's going to introduce herself, and then we can move forward. Hi, Anna. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, hi, Buck. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for what you do. I'm here because I'm mad, I'm indignant, I'm upset, I'm scared, and I am here very much to address my generation,
Yeah.
women like me, um, dykes, lesbians, if you want. I consider myself a dyke or a gay woman. I think lesbian is a species. Um,
Yeah.
but misogyny and patriarchy, so far as I'm concerned, has made a lot of people from my community intent on defending trans people and disregarding our daughters, our
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah.
There's a lot, I'm 56, there's a lot more. Title IX did a lot for girls. The things are much better for girls than when I was little, social media aside. And I'm not willing to give that up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Neither am I. And I
yeah,
live as a male, but
yeah,
I'm a female. And I was
yeah,
totally a big dyke, and I was all part of that thing, and love it, and I will never forget that part of my life. I very much, feel attached to it. I would not be this person if I did not live as a butch dyke. It's a very important part of my life. It doesn't mean just because I transition that it needs to disappear. I think it's important we have role models like you for the young generation. They're disappearing. Where are they
yeah,
going? What?
yeah,
Why? Why?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And doesn't Michigan Women's Music Festival seem a million years ago?
I'm trying to get an interview with her. I think she's writing a book. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So, um, a little bit of going back. Okay,
Yeah.
young people, when you hear about like, oh, all this, well, nowadays, and all of this with gender and pronouns, no, it is nothing new. It has been happening for a long time,
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago. It's issues that some of us were dealing with, and now it's gotten out there. And I would say back in the day, there were issues about trans women being included in gatherings. Um,
That's right.
and there's always been mass, there's always been people that took advantage of that. There has always been aggressive, um,
That's right.
and MTS or whatever
Yes.
that I wasn't comfortable with. But my attitude was, hey, I'm not going to put my energy into excluding people for
Yes.
one thing. And if I really need something private, I'll find it because this is
Yep.
public anyway. Um, but okay, but now it is it is stealing opportunity. I think that the athletes, this is stealing money. This is stealing
Disgusting.
futures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the, for people who don't know about Mitch Fest, really just Google it. There's a lot of good stuff on there, but those trans women were so nasty. and so aggressive. They were disgusting. Now, I want people to understand I have a lot of trans women friends who are not like that. They're totally low
Yeah.
key. They live their life. They're not pushing on people. This was a certain type of trans women, the ones you see today that are aggressive, male energy, just trying to trans women are women, that nonsense. So this is what Mitch Fest had to deal with. What was it, 30 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
horrible. It was horrible. It was. It literally ruined the whole Mitch Fest. It's done. It's gone. It took
It's
away a woman's. That was a woman's event. That was so amazing and so beautiful. And again, there's women getting an event. Sorry, but I'm going to say it because I can. Trans women are not women. They're
they're not.
biological men. They're males.
Trans women are trans women. Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Uh, and it wouldn't have happened without a lot of women from my community getting swept up.
Yes. Thank
And
you.
yes, I remember because, like, at one point, the issue was like, okay, whether trans women can come. But then, I mean, I was doing some organizing thing
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
turned into a conversation about how can we make trans women comfortable. And I'm like, I don't care. That's their problem.
That's right. I still feel like that.
Yes,
It's anybody's place to try to make me feel comfortable. You know
exactly.
that. When I became a male, I
Yeah,
removed myself from the lesbian space because that was the right thing to do. I lost that privilege. And just
yeah,
because you're trans, now all of a sudden this new trans identity, you get to have everything. Go,
exactly.
what? You do not. And you're a trans woman. You're not a woman.
Well, yeah. And it's just exciting things. I mean, we could go on and on about
Totally.
women that have been fired. Scientists are being fired for
No,
talking about biology.
I know. It's shocking. It's actually,
Yeah,
thank you, Anna. I just want to just keep repeating that it means a lot to me that you reached out and it means a lot that you care enough to speak up because people have been silenced and too scared, but I think people
yeah,
are fed up now. And I think it's getting dangerous. It's getting
yeah,
dangerous. It's not okay anymore. It's not just like, oh, no, some of these trans women are violent and they're
yeah,
insane and they're doing nasty things to this community. This community is not even a community. It's gone. It's actually gone. There's no
yeah,
none. Nope.
yeah. And there's thought policing. And I never thought that I would use the word so much metaphysical to
Yeah.
apply to my life. But okay, who are we? How do we become who we are?
Yeah.
That's metaphysical. There's a lot of different ways to interpret it, and it's not transphobic to think a certain way.
But
Yeah,
you
it's
see
an
what they're
opinion.
manipulating our language and Anna
Yeah,
and I've been around for a long time. Okay. We've been in
yeah,
this community for a long time. Like we know what it means to be X, Y, and Z. And like, okay, so you want to be a lady, you go right ahead. No one had issues with that before. But we got to put our foot down as me as a transsexual man and you as a butch gay woman, however you identify. We got to come together on this, my friend, because if we
that's how
don't,
I'm a femboy.
right on. I think you're on Butch.
Oh, I got it in I'm a Butch fan. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, whatever. You understand what
Exactly.
I'm saying. Me and you
Yeah.
got to come together and we got to understand that, to save the specialness, we have a specialness of our community that is now lost in all of this BS. I'll tell you why I think, Anna, because I think a lot of these trans women who are really causing the problem are not trans women. They're
No.
fetishy cross-dresser dudes
Yes.
who
Yes,
have a
they are.
fetish. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
They're not us. No. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been different things. It's been stuff like that. But one of the things, I mean, seeing what happened with sports, because that wasn't so much my reality until I watched the hearings and learned more about what was really going on.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
fair. No, trans women do not belong in women's sports. Go get out of here. Like I played sports as a woman. It ain't gonna fucking happen on my watch. I don't care how much you call me trans. They call me transphobic. And I transitioned 32 years ago. Like that's how
Right.
you can see it's all bullshit.
Hateful.
It's bullshit. It's hateful.
Yeah.
It's honesty. It's not, they don't want a community. They want to take over women's, it's misogyny. It's
It
their,
is misogyny,
yes,
flat out. It's misogyny and entitlement and
that's right.
falling for it, people. If this was about how come we don't have FTM demanding to be in their face, okay?
Bam.
Yeah,
Well, we
yeah,
know why.
yeah,
Also,
yeah,
because trans men like myself, we come to this in a different space.
yeah.
We're females. We have a different way of being. We're not pushing, and it's such a. That's what I'm telling you. It's a misogynist movement,
It
and
is.
it never did trans women act like this. Mitch Fest started a lot of it. They were these creepy.
Yeah.
There was a woman there. Her name was Dana Rivers. Do you know who that
Oh,
is?
no,
Oh my God. You should just everyone Google her.
sure will. Yeah.
She ended up becoming a psychopath and killing the people she was living with. And she was part of the whole Mitch Fest, like what was that trans woman event? She's in prison now,
Trans
right?
case
But a
something.
whack
Yep. Yep.
job. I like what? Those were the psychopathic trans women who are pushing to get in women's spaces. Now it's like you're
It's like,
transphobic. If yeah,
yeah, welcome to being a woman. You don't get to do everything you want.
that's
Oh, I
right.
want to put, what about, and the sport, well, I want to play sports. You don't get to do everything you want,
That's right.
you know?
You just
And
don't. That's right.
yeah, if an entire group of people, if an entire team of people was uncomfortable with my presence, I wouldn't be there, you know?
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
So, so tell me a little bit about you a little bit. So, where did you grow up and all of that, and how long, and when you came out and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm from the West Coast. I was born and raised in Seattle. I kind of came of age in the Bay Area,
Right on.
and I've been there for a long time. That's kind of
Right.
where I identify more. So yeah, I mean, when I was coming out in the '90s, it was very like Butch fan
Yeah,
and all of that. But um, yeah, I mean, the trans that
I was
yeah,
around. I bet we have a lot of the same
I,
friends. We have
we
a
do,
lot.
we do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we totally do. That was
yeah.
a fun time. Oh my God. Everyone was just having a blast and like
Yeah,
it was amazing. And that's why you're important, Anna, because we need to get people to see that. I think there's a
yeah,
lot of young girls, some reason they want to transition or they think they're trans. And I'm actually like, I don't understand it. Do you?
yeah. Um, again, there's some because the whole kid thing is things I researched through work and through family members. I don't believe that there's trans children because I think childhood childhood is transitioning.
That's
When you're changing and changing and changing,
yeah.
how do you know? And yeah, it's not right. And
No.
I feel like, hey, maybe it was because they never got free to be you and me.
Yeah. No, maybe you're also they have the internet. The internet is a
Oh,
mess and
it
they can
is.
be indoctrinated by weirdo adults, right? Telling them you're
So
trans, come
time,
here. Like what? Yeah,
big
I think so.
time.
Yeah.
And there are innumerable ways that a young person will be feeling anxious, will be feeling uncomfortable in their
Yes.
body,
Yeah.
other than being transgender.
Yes. Yes. I agree. That's why I don't believe in trans kids either. People will say, "Oh, well, Buck, you were a trans kid. Don't you dare tell me my story. I was not a trans kid. I was a butch girl who wanted to be a boy and right? And no one told me I could change my sex. Thank God. They're
Yeah.
lying to these kids. I didn't change my sex. I'm still a female. Like what? It's so
Well,
absurd.
yeah. And okay, when I'm how or just the question, it's internalized misogyny. And
Brilliant.
okay, have you? there was a counselor I worked with, or who I was interviewing for a project,
Yeah.
and she was saying, well, a lot of it is saying you can be a kind of girl you want to be, you can be a boy you want to be,
Yeah.
and that needs to happen comprehensively. You need to go through their treatment, whatever, for somebody to know who they are
It's crazy.
when we get to transgender.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Because I always want to point this out to people. Now trans is an identity, right? So when it's not my identity, it is my
yeah,
disorder. I have a mental disorder called
yeah,
gender identity disorder. And
yeah,
because of that, I got to fix it. I didn't transition to be trans, I transitioned to be a man. And that's the
yeah,
difference between this newer sort of ideological space where they want to make these kids say, I'm trans. They belong. You know what I mean? But here's the difference. Let's say a kid, or not a kid, maybe an 18 or 19-year-old youngster wants to try to be a lesbian or a gay or whatever, right? And it doesn't work out for them. No harm, really, no harm.
exactly.
They tested sexuality, which a lot of people do, right? But when you
That,
start operating or you start giving them hormone, that's irreversible. You can't mess around with that is a whole other level. And that's what I'm not understanding. It's like
yeah.
everyone lost their minds.
Well, I remember when people were talking more about hormones, and they said that the idea back then was, okay, you can delay puberty while the kid gets that figured out, and then they'll be okay. That's what they
That's
used
not
to.
true. It's
Yeah,
not true because I actually believed that in the beginning, and I
yeah,
started doing my research, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're right. You can't pause. You can block puberty, but once you block it, you're never picking up where you left off. You're literally destroying a kid. Puberty is the number one most important thing for every human.
yeah.
It's literally going from a child to an adult, right? So if you block that, you've now just actually screwed up the whole system. It can never catch up again. You watch, mark my words, Anna. We're going to have a mess on our hands with these
Well,
kids.
yes,
That's right.
yeah,
There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
yeah,
They don't know what they're
yeah.
doing. It's
I've
gross.
been watching a lot of your shows and lives, and I
Yeah.
really want. I'll put my contact information. I really want to be a support to some of these young
Thank
people
you.
because,
Oh God, we
yeah,
need you. We need you.
yeah,
These kids need to see you.
oh,
They need to say, I can be a butch. I could be a butch femme. I could be a lesbian. I don't have to transition. There's something wrong. I think,
yeah,
and a lot of these kids, I interviewed a lot of detransitioners, and
well,
a
yeah,
lot of them who thought they were and decided they weren't, they all had like mental health problems, like,
they did.
borderline personality disorder
Yeah,
or autism, or they never were diagnosed with that ever because they don't diagnose you now. They just say these kids know who they are. I'm like, in what
they
world do you
don't.
live in?
Yeah, and just, I mean, anxiety and,
Yeah,
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 and
yeah.
feelings of,
Sure.
feelings of fear of development because of abuse.
There you go. That's
Yeah,
right. We know that. We know that, but they don't want to talk about it. And this I call it transgender ideology.
yeah,
It's very cult like to me. I'm not a part of that. I do not want somebody to transition first off unless they really understand what they're getting into. Look at me. I can
yeah,
never go back to looking like how I used to. It's literally
yeah,
made my body everything. I'm a man now. I'm a man for all intents and purposes, right? But
yeah.
these kids think that they could like just change their mind tomorrow. And I'm like, no, you, you can't. And it's also like, I just did a thing where a kid, when I call them 20 years old, they're kids
Yes,
to me.
yeah.
He was on like a massive amount of hormones and now he has kidney failure. I'm like,
I I watched that. Yes, yeah.
how are we letting this happen? How?
Malpractice.
Money
Yeah,
has to
yeah,
be. I don't
and
understand. It's not, there's no morals attached to it. There's no ethics. Doctors have lost their minds. Doctors have like a moral code, don't they? Do no
yeah,
harm.
dude.
What's
Yeah,
happened to them? They don't care. They're literally cutting off girls' breasts. Like
right.
literally like it's like a fucking factory. Weird.
And yeah, I mean, I remember like one of the kids in my family, was pretty much living as a boy. Everybody thought she was a boy and
Yeah.
all of that. And,
Yeah.
they did go to a counselor to see what was up and they kind of like
Great.
let her be. And then 2 years later, she like was insisting that the dog had to have a pink collar.
You
Yeah.
gotta let the kid just
Yeah.
let the kid be like, okay, you
Yeah.
want to be called Tommy, whatever, dude. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But they're putting so much, like, I really feel like they're putting a lot of pressure on these kids instead of
They
just, right? Like, when we probably would say when you grew up, when I grew up, we just were like however we were and like whatever. It wasn't a big deal if you wanted to play with trucks or you wanted to, right, comb your hair back or like wear a shirt with your sleeves rolled up or, you know what I mean? Like it just is so weird to me that there's this. It's kind of on some level homophobic. Don't,
Yeah.
yeah,
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 homophobic and misogynist.
yep,
And
yep,
yeah,
yep,
yeah, it is. And you know, there's all of that. But again, I mean, I have a whole lot of thoughts and ideas about that, but I
yeah,
feel like so far as our time, I definitely want to focus on the misogyny as a woman that seen it. I do know a lot about the kids issues because um I why are like I see women of my generation posting like, oh, it's so wonderful that Leah Thomas won oh, she's woman of the year. She was ranked 400 in the men's swimming.
Uh, So give me a little bit about. I know I'm just actually
Yeah,
I'm sometimes I just have no words for it because I just
yeah,
can't. I feel like women, especially, I can understand men maybe whatever, but a woman actually getting on board with this is I really don't. Is it self hating? What is it like? Why would a woman think it's okay for a man to compete in women's sports, even though they want to be a woman, they look like a woman, or whatever that even means, right? Like,
well,
why?
especially when they don't, when they're like foot taller and stronger and muscle mass. Yeah, and
Especially when they don't.
yeah, yeah,
It's so true. But
yeah, and
why? Why?
well, I think they're just going along with the culture. Like I
Mm.
was influenced by watching the hearings about Title IX in
Oh,
Congress. Yeah,
excellent. Excellent.
I recommend people watch them. And
Right.
every um, all the Democrats, their entire speeches were how terrible about the bullying that gender non-conforming trans kids or whatever experience and the
Yeah.
mental health,
Yeah.
which I care very much about, which is very
Mhm.
serious. None of them were talking about mental health and space for girls. I
No,
mean, that has nothing to do with it. And
that's right.
yeah. And, I mean, girls were told, offered counseling if they don't want to share a changing room with a male. The girls, members of the swim team were changing in the janitor's closet because they weren't
I,
comfortable changing with a male.
of course. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not comfortable. If
yeah,
I go to the gym, I don't change, and I just go in, put my shit in the locker, and walk out. Right? Like
yeah,
I know who I am and what my body looks like. It might cause a little confusion there. And as a transsexual, it's up to me. It's not up to you. It's up to me to make sure that everyone around is not going to flip out. It's not the
yeah,
opposite way. And so this is this new generation of entitlement. It's mostly coming from trans women, male
mhm,
entitlement, that they could just
mhm,
come in and sling their penis around everywhere when women are uncomfortable with penises in their face. Okay,
yeah,
sorry, but that's the reality of it. And there's many levels to that. But the must so you're right. Title IX was getting women into a space where they got their own space.
yeah.
Yay!
And I mean, it's real, it's money, it's a future. And
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
if a girl's trying to get a volleyball scholarship,
Hmm.
and there's 10 slots
Yeah.
and men take two, that's two girls that don't get a scholarship.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. I know. It's like what's happened. We are getting pushed back. That we are pushing back on it now, including
Good.
myself. And I think it's coming around now. They
Good.
stopped letting women compete in NCAA. And people like Riley Gaines, if you know who she is, and a lot of big athletes who are friends of mine, by the way. And I
Have you had
support them.
Riley on the show?
I love. Sorry.
Has Riley come on the show?
No, I'm trying to get her on, but now she's super
Uh,
famous. I should have
well,
got her on in the early time, but I think I'm still talking to her. But now she's so famous, you know what I mean?
I
But me
know.
and her, we connected early on,
Yeah.
and I wrote her a real quick DM, and I said, you know what, Riley, I've got you. I'm a transsexual. I'm telling you, I'm a biological female. What you're doing is powerful. And she wrote me, thank you, Buck. That means a lot to me. I so much appreciate that. I go, what these people are doing to you is sick and wrong. And
Terrible.
yeah, it's terrible.
Well,
You know, yeah.
yeah. I mean, she is out, she's gotten her life's in danger. I
No,
mean,
I
it is,
think people wanted to
yeah.
kill her. I'm not kidding. Like they totally did.
Yeah.
People send
And
me death threats. I'm not kidding. These
like,
crazy
yeah.
trans people, they do. They're like, "Wow." I'm like, really? Meet me at Starbucks. Here's the address. No one ever shows up. Like, I'm waiting, drinking a coffee. They're
Which
all
I
full of shit
like
on the internet.
correspond with is Kim McGinnis Russell.
Who's that?
She is a lacrosse coach at Oberlin. Okay,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. She was fired for sticking up for girls. For she was told not to have a doctor come speak about menstruation. Um,
wow.
so we correspond, and it's sort of like talking with you because I was writing to her, going like, "Okay, we're liberal. I'm another
That's right.
liberal.
That's
How did
right.
the conservatives wind up fighting misogyny?"
It's the weirdest. I get called
Yeah,
I get called right wing all the time. I'm like, no, I'm an actual real liberal. You're all weirdos. You're
exactly.
not liberal. You're like complete communist, fascist, Marxist weirdos.
Yeah.
You've taken over the Democratic Party. It's a joke. How the Republicans become the people who are fighting for our rights.
Well, yeah, and okay, so here's more from somebody, some of a young woman Congress member called Riley Gaines transphobic, and she said, "If I'm transphobic, then you're a misogynist."
Right on. Bam. It's so
And
stupid.
said that she's not trying to keep trans people
Oh,
out
she's
of
not.
sports. She's
No.
gotten a lot more extreme now that she's
Yeah.
so famous. I
Yeah.
Some of her comments
Yeah.
are
It's
I don't
true.
want some comments now because she's gotten so famous, but
Well,
no, I
guess who's lifting her voice up? Those
well,
people are. That's why.
unfortunate, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but
That's why.
I think I'd love to meet her. I think she's a
Me too.
kind person.
She's a
I don't
powerhouse.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly,
Yes.
and yeah, but well, I wrote Kim that I was coming on your show, um,
Oh, I'm gonna go.
and yeah, you should definitely have her on
I
because
should
I
definitely.
correspond with her. Yeah, she's another one. We're saying like we
I want to
need,
have her on. If you could connect
yeah,
me, I would be
I sure
very
will.
grateful. I would be
I
very
sure
grateful. I'll give her
will.
a big platform. I
Yeah,
have a large community here. We're building a huge community. And, because
yeah,
people like you come on and say things that other people are scared to say. So when you say this, it's going to give other people power to go, you know what? Why am I being so weird about it? Like whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, I get why people are scared. Don't get me wrong. I get it. It's hard to sit here and have this conversation for some people. They're scared to lose their friends or they're scared to be called names. And,
yeah,
it's not, but I want to encourage people. If we don't start pushing back, we're going to lose everything we fought for, especially women's rights. They are going to go out. The fact that we're letting men who think they're women take over women's space, I never in my whole lifetime would ever
yeah, yeah. It's
ever.
entitlement. It's male entitlement. Like, no, you don't get to
That
change what a woman
that's
is.
right.
You're a
Nope,
transform. Yeah,
nope, you do
yeah.
not. You
I
do
mean, I
not.
think a lot of women have just been bullied, and
Yeah,
that's
sad.
why I'm saying to come on, little women, stand up
It's
and
shocking.
yeah, stand up, speak out. Why are you sticking up for them? I mean, why are
Yeah,
you sticking up
yeah.
for people that are going in taking sports scholarships from working class women? And
Disgusting.
that, yeah,
I want to die when I see it. Even, we know how hard it is already for women to be at the top notch level in sports.
yeah,
But, and then for some dude who's like you said, 400 in the men's and then comes and wins all the races in the women. And everyone's just like, are we all seeing this? And then no one's saying it. Who's that chick who was the soccer player? Who's,
Megan Rapinoe. Yeah, yeah, and yeah,
uh,
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 she she was a champion. Now that she's retired, she's saying that trans men should come. Like, oh yeah, it's great for you.
disgusting,
And
disgusting.
okay, the other thing people need to know is
Yes,
okay, there's elite athletes. It's not just about this is
that's
your
right.
school. This is going to be happening in your local school
That's
district.
right. That's right.
And so, I don't get into fights on social media, but yeah,
Don't.
if this hits the school district in my town, yeah, I'm gonna be up there.
You have
And
to.
you
I mean,
you do.
if we don't say anything, it's going to get so bad. And let me just say something here. Whatever you think that trans is, it's not. I'm going to tell you right now, it is not what you see. It is not anybody can be trans. Not anyone just because they think they're trans is trans. None of that. It's all an illusion. And it's coming from the top. Somewhere people have infiltrated our system and it's all about money. I am telling you, I'm watching them ramp it up and they're using all these young people as an experiment. I'm 32 years on testosterone. I had some serious problems happen to me. But
Oh,
because I'm very knowledgeable and I understand where I'm going and I took it very slow and I did it at 30, I'm very healthy at 62. But these are
yeah.
20-year-old girls, let's just be honest here, slamming testosterone and not even understanding and then getting so sick from it. You think that the 16-year-old kids who are cutting their breasts off, let's have a real conversation about that. The fact that that's a kid, a 16-year-old, cutting her breasts off because she's non binary. Do you know that they're not putting the nipples back on?
Maybe you have to be over 18 to get a tattoo.
Yes. And drink alcohol and have sex. And
Yeah,
you can now go cut your breasts off and not put your nipples back on. I mean, come on,
yeah.
let's be real here. They're
Well,
literally
years ago when okay, and a lot of it is parents and people were
yeah,
like, oh, reality, but my trans kid, whatever. Fuck you.
yeah,
Your kid can change their mind,
that's right.
whatever. You taken away their privacy. That's on the
Totally
internet forever
disgusting.
because you want to be cool.
That's so true. I mean, we're in alignment on everything, and I think so. I just think it's disgusting that I have an 11-year-old kid. I would never put him on the internet. Not a million.
Exactly.
Like, also, that's non consensual. What happened to consent?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, also with you, when you take a kid to give them puberty blockers, they're still not consenting. Even though an 11-year-old says, I want to be on puberty blockers. Come on. That 11-year-old kid is going to say all kinds of things. I want to smoke cigarettes or smoke weed or snort
Well,
cocaine. Are you going to let that 11-year-old do that? Like,
yeah.
I would let my kid snort a line of cocaine before I would let him go and take puberty blockers.
Well, and
What is
it's
happening?
oh, yeah, it is, and
So gross.
yeah, your kid is struggling with identity and figuring out how they are. That's called being human. You can't
That's
really medicate that.
no, no, no. But I do think some parents have been sort of stuck in that space because they're
Yeah,
things that are not true, like your kid will, if they don't transition. Since when? And if that was the truth, we'd have a lot of kids who are dead, and we don't. Where are they all? So that's complete. It's really manipulative towards parents, and
It is.
it's really bizarre that we've all just, I think the medical association lost its mind, and I don't really understand except for money. It just seems to go back to money for me, because I can't imagine that people are that stupid on some level.
Well, yeah,
It just
yeah.
doesn't make
I
sense.
I don't know, but um, yeah. I mean the the sport, and then okay, like um the when some head of some queer organization was at that hearing, and they asked her, like, sorry, go listen to Ted Cruz. Why are there women sports? Why? Okay, if it doesn't matter, then why are
That's
there
right.
women's sports? Wait, you can go join the women's team because you feel like a woman.
Whatever. What does that even mean? What does that mean to feel? When I transitioned, that was the one thing my therapist. I had to go through 2 years of therapy, by the way,
Yes,
before I could even do any of this. But my therapist kept asking me and kept challenging me, which was what you're supposed to do. What does that mean, Buck, to feel like a woman? I mean, to feel like a man. What does that mean? You want to be a man? She challenged me constantly, where I had to sit with myself. You're right. What does that mean to feel?
yeah,
So what I realized was I want to look like a man. It's
yeah,
not that I want to feel like a man. It's that I wanted to look that way. And I was like, oh, it was so profound for me because I realized I'm just walking the world looking like a man. I didn't change. The inside is still
yeah,
the same. And I think these people are being told a lie, right? When you tell a 10-year-old that you can change their sex, you're lying to them. You're lying.
yeah,
It's never going to happen. They're never going to be happy. And they're going to grow up and realize they never changed their sex ever. And then they're going to be pissed at their parents. And then it's going to turn into a whole other bad
yeah.
situation.
Man,
Yep.
you throw that medication and all of that with like all the millions of other things you're trying to figure out with growing up and developing.
Wow. Just
It's
wow. We have to
wrong.
save these
And
kids.
it's careers being ended. And yeah,
I know.
and
I know.
I mean, Kim
So wait,
McGinnis,
what's her name? The woman from
Kim,
over, what's her?
Kim McGinnis Russell.
That's right. Kim.
And yeah, can you get more liberal than a lacrosse coach from?
Wait,
Yeah.
what is she doing now?
Well, she's now on a bus tour with Riley and Paula and the other um
Hey,
sports girls, and she said, and she's like, come meet us, Anna. And I said, well, I will if you guys come to the West Coast,
yeah,
and then I'll get bashed. And like,
totally.
yeah, and I fully anticipate that. And
Yep.
I mean, I'm active in my community
Right.
and where I am, and so
Right.
yeah, I've taken unpopular positions in my community about other
For you.
stuff, and people say like, "Oh, you do this," and I'm like, "It's not that big a deal. It really isn't." I mean, I am in a safe social position and emotional decision place. People like me need to speak out.
That's right. That is so. That's why I do it too, because I'm in a
Yeah,
safe space to do it. They
yeah,
can't take me out. They can't. You
exactly,
can't. You can't cancel me. How are you going to do
exactly.
that? You just can't. You
Yeah,
can call me names and you can say all those things, but I'm 62. Call me all the
yeah,
names you want. It doesn't mean I'm going to
yeah,
keep climbing until women are back to normal. We stop doing that to kids. And these are fake trans women, by the way. They're not real trans women. They're not.
yeah.
They're not.
Yeah. And, and with the issues, like, yes, it needs, you need to work the sports stuff out. But, that and then scientists, um,
Oh, I
you
know.
like being canceled for talking about biology.
Biology.
Exactly.
We are. We're here. We're in South Park. We are.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
we are.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not transphobic because I think trans women are women. I mean, that is an interpretation of what it means to be human, and there's a lot of
That's
different
right.
ways to look at what it means to be human.
That's right. That's, you're very intelligent. You're very important to this cause. And the more women that start to step up and stop supporting this insanity, I think the reason why some of them feel the need to do it because they're so liberal that they think on some level that if they don't support it, the right wing are going to come over. You see what they've done though? They've divided us in such a manner that it's so hard line, right? You can't, there's no nuance. There's no, you know what I
Well,
mean? I like
yeah.
to build bridges. You got to build bridges with the people who
Well,
hate
you
you.
like
Yeah.
I am capable. Well, see, I am capable of agreeing with people on some things and disagreeing
Me too.
on other things. So here's another thing people can hate about me is that I'm a Christian, and so like when I'll post on Riley's TikTok sometime I'm like, Riley, you're better than this. Jesus loved everyone.
Right on, right on, right on.
Right? And
I love it.
yeah,
Well, it's
yeah,
true. Jesus does love
yeah,
everyone. And
exactly.
those kind of Christians are not real Christians. Jesus doesn't hate. He never hated. He hung out with all the fun, like
He
prostitutes and
did.
yeah, he's a
He
cool
did.
dude. Yeah,
Jesus
like what are you talking
way
about?
cool. And yeah, I had, um, like, yeah, Riley is, she's filling her space. I wish she didn't. I can agree with her about some things and not with
Yeah,
others.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so when that bus tour, if they make it over here, like, yeah, I'm going to go. I anticipate.
Oh,
Hey, when they start hitting the Bay Area and California,
oh, it's
oh
gonna get
my
nuts.
God,
Oh, I'll show up. I don't usually show
you
up.
you
I don't.
right, you
I
right.
don't because I have a
You're my
bad temper.
brother.
I have
Yeah,
a I
yeah,
have a bad temper. So I'm like,
yeah.
I know when I shouldn't show up because I will throw down. And I'm like, I'm gonna go to jail for some loser calling me transphobic. But they need to support people. When not if that bus comes
Okay.
to your town, whatever it takes to make sure people start to see we're fed up with this nonsense. We can't support this idea. It's an ideological space. It has nothing to do with trans rights and has nothing the queer, non-binary, like insanity. They've hijacked they've hijacked our community on some level.
They have,
Yeah,
and other, I want girls to play soccer. I
me
want them
too.
to have a chance to compete
That's
and
right.
win.
That's
There's like there's like the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and people were like, oh, it's a feud. And then one of them, Angel Reese, was like, we've known each other since high school. We're competitive.
that's right. Right on. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And people want to take that away.
that's
They,
right. Also,
yeah,
come on, people. Little girl, sports did wonders for me as a girl. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. At 11, I started playing soccer, and I excelled in it. And it was all other girls. If there would have been boys on the team, it would have sucked because
exactly.
you learn how to have like this special thing with other girls, and I just don't get how people think it's completely okay for a little boy to say he's a little girl and then start being on the team with the girls and going in the locker room with this is happening, it's happening
Well,
in
they're bigger. They have more muscle mass,
that's right.
and
That's right.
yeah, and
Sick.
I don't, I mean, I was looking at some, um, I'm from Seattle, and so I was looking at the queer edition of one of the local papers, and they're like, oh, okay, well, they're keeping sports safe for trans kids. There was just a That's the assumption. I know I would have been fast for saying something different.
Oh
I
yeah.
wrote into Guinness Russell saying, oh, let's contact them. And, you know, if when I'm in a position to be heard there, yeah,
Yes.
I'll say something.
Of course,
Definitely.
because there's not enough trans kids, first off, one or two. So everyone else has to move over for one or two
Exactly.
trans kids. Like, create a league. This is how I know they're full of shit, too, Anna, because we keep saying, let's create a league. And they don't want to. They created a swimming league specifically for trans women.
Well,
Not
yeah.
one trans woman showed up. Not one.
Yeah.
So they're
And I'm
full of
like,
shit.
okay, why don't you okay, why don't you make men have a different definition, you
That's right.
know, rather
Brilliant.
than, okay, why don't you be a come up with something else,
That's right.
trans, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
And
It
yeah.
just needs to, we need to come back down to reality, and we need to start challenging these people's notion of, and also you see, it's just an attack on women. No one cares about men. No one cares about me. No, I'm not a threat to dudes in any way, shape, or form. So that's
Exactly.
why
Yeah.
it's a full on, sorry, but it's a reality. Men are a threat to women sometimes in
Yeah, there's
situations.
no STMs trying to get into men's
They
prison.
would never do that, because why would I
Exactly.
do that?
Exactly.
No, because we know.
Yeah.
Also, well, there was that non-binary runner who won the Olympic trials, and
Yeah.
she claims to be trans non-binary, which I'm like, that is actually makes no sense. You can't be trans and
No.
non-binary. You're a
Yeah.
female. And during the race, I was watching the whole thing. They kept calling her she. So I'm like, well, how come you're not bitching about the fact that they were calling you she? So it just feels like it's this cool identity to be, and it has nothing to do with transsexualism. It has nothing to do with the disorder. It has everything to do with, I'm trans, look at me, I'm so cool and hip. And that's just not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
We need to be doing this. I mean, um I want girls, I want in high school and junior high, I want them to have space, I want them to have opportunity. And they were, some of the athletes had talked about, they were offered counseling because they don't want a man in their room. Oh, you had a recording of an 11-year-old girl. Did people go back and listen to that? People
That's
go back
right.
and listen to an
That's right.
11-year-old girl
That's right.
saying she doesn't want to see somebody.
She said, I'm grossed out.
Yes,
Grossed out. So,
yeah.
hello, the people who keep saying, listen to the kids, they know who they are. And I'm like, listen to the kids. They don't want to
Correct.
be men's penises at
Yeah.
11 years old. I'll guarantee you, Anna, that little girl's going to have some trauma from it. She is. She's going to just have something messed up from it, because we've
Oh,
loosened, we've loosened this societal. The reason we have rules, people, is to create a space where we can all live together. That's what societal rules are. If we didn't have any rules, it would be mayhem. Things would be like all over
yeah.
the place.
Yeah, like, okay, I mean, yeah, when I was a kid, they said the boys picked on you because you were pretty. And so I thought things had got like, okay, what about boundaries? What about protecting
Yeah,
her
yeah,
space? And then, there were girls that spoke at the city council in
yeah.
LA. They had nobody asked us about having a boy in our locker room. And
It's
yeah,
still
I
crazy.
yeah, I
That
don't.
you know, I just did an interview with a man who he he's in like Philadelphia or something. But I don't know if you remember, there was a 13-year-old trans girl, so a boy, who was at this school and beat the shit out of this other
Yeah,
girl, right?
yeah,
So that
yeah.
was like insane. And so the man who I put in my little video, he reached out to me because he really liked what I made. And he's amazing. He's such a cool man. But he stood up in that school board meeting. He was like,
Dog.
men and women are different. We have more aggression. And I was like, right on, dude. And then I had this interview with him, and he started telling me more stuff. He goes, that boy who pretended he was a girl was taking pictures of the girls in the locker room and harassing the girls in the bathroom. And I'm like, what? That kid should have been kicked out in a heartbeat, but they didn't kick him out because they were too scared, because he was a trans kid. And
Why
so
did how did they become so? Why can't you tell them to go and figure something out, make a co-ed bathroom or
that's
whatever?
right.
Like,
That's right.
okay, you don't get to do track. You need to find something else
Yeah.
to do. Yeah.
Yes. Well, they're giving them a message that if you're trans, you get anything you want. That's the
Yeah,
message they're giving these. And that's
yeah,
not true. You don't
yeah,
get everything you
you
want.
don't.
Nobody does. So now
Nobody does.
trans is like the number one thing. So of course these kids want to be trans.
Yeah.
They get accolades on the internet. Their parents think they're like
Yeah.
special. You know what I mean? It's like it's such a destructive space to put a child in, let alone an adult who doesn't even understand what they're doing with no, there's no mental health care, Anna. You can just be trans.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
bizarre.
And the liberals just take, I don't know, man. I mean, I think liberals are gullible.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great word. It's a
Yeah.
great word. You're right. I think because they want to do the right thing. I'm not that kind of liberal. I don't even know what I would consider myself anymore because
Yeah.
I think that maybe it's age, right? Do you think that you've changed your way of being a little more in your thoughtfulness as you get older?
Not about stuff like this.
Right on.
Yeah.
No, me neither. Even though I became a man, I've always been attached to female rights. I will
Yeah.
never not fight for female rights. It's just the
Yeah.
right thing. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's affecting, I mean, how many women and girls are missing out on scholarships? How many women and girls are not getting to go to the college they
I know.
want?
I know.
And
I know.
yeah, um, they asked Riley James about the swim team, and they practice 6 hours a day.
Yeah, I know. I was a high
Yeah.
ranking athlete when I was in
Okay.
high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
I won the city championships. I did all these invitational meets. I was being sought after for the Olympic running. I was sponsored by Adidas, Nike. I was a high ranking female athlete. It's why I'm attached to it. And I know how hard, and that was in the 70s,
Oh my
right? In the
God, they
70s.
barely even. Women, I didn't know they did women contracts in the 70s.
They were just starting to do it. So I just started getting, because I was on this really invitational team called Nature Right. And they totally started giving us all Nikes and Adidas. And that's when New Balance started. And they started giving us free shoes. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like really a contract. We just got free shoes, which was a big deal back then. And so I know where and how hard you had to be able to get into that space, right? So I will never not understand. And I remember I was running a race and the women from it was the USSR at the time. And they came to run this invitational meet at UCLA. And they were like, whoa. And they all had mustaches. And I was like, they were on steroids. They were
Wow.
basically trans men, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
kicked our asses. And so I have a history with sports as a woman that, it did wonders for me. It kept me out of trouble for a while. So I know how you have to practice and train. And then some dude comes along and says, I'm a woman, get out of the way.
Yeah. And
I would never tolerate that. I would have punched that dude out. There's no way.
I
No,
mean, I think there's some activities and stuff that,
no,
like,
no.
like, I, okay, well, and then what about non-sports? What about girl? I don't know. See, I
Like
think
what?
that,
Look, if you open the door, okay, so let's say it's
yeah,
darts. Let's say it's
yeah,
darts, right?
yeah,
Okay, which doesn't take a lot, but it takes more mental and kind of that skill. But I still don't think it's fair because once you open that little door,
yeah.
right, it's gonna get people are gonna take advantage. And also, what about the women in darts? Maybe they don't want, even though we think it's not as difficult as maybe running or swimming or
Sure,
cycling.
like length and height and
There's a
stuff
lot
like.
of things going on. So they tried to, or chess, any of that. They tried to say, trans women, why don't they just play things that aren't physically? I'm like, no, because it's still a woman's space. Like they don't belong in women's toilets. They don't belong in women's sports. They don't belong in lesbian bars. They don't belong in where women are going to be safe with each other. Okay. Like if a trans woman was looking like a woman and she was really low key and she just went to the les
Exactly.
bar, nobody would
Yeah,
really care. Nobody would care.
exactly.
They wouldn't.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
wouldn't.
and that's cool,
Totally
yeah, because
different.
they're probably really a trans. I mean, that's a real trans woman because they're acting like a woman.
There you go. That's right. Not all raw. Get out of my way.
Exactly.
I'm gonna take your rights. You know, well, Anna, we should end here, but listen, I'm gonna put if you give in the email if you give me
Sure.
your information
Yeah,
and some young people want to reach or anyone, I don't care who it is.
I
If
will.
somebody,
Oh,
oh,
okay. I'm a historian, and
oh, you
I
are.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So Um, yeah, so I have a graphic novel coming out about Byron Weston and Polly Murray is in it. People, Polly Murray's
Wow.
gender is irrelevant. It's not why she's important. And so we have things like, okay, a documentary about Polly Murray
Wow.
was they spoke to like college students. They spoke to like gender non-conforming
Wow.
dude people. Holly Murray was a black woman. She was a poet, a lawyer,
Wow.
and priest. Her work was crucial for Brown v. Board of Education. She is one of the founders of the National Organization for Women. That's why she's important.
Yes.
So
Great.
they do film. They could have interviewed Mandy Carter, but there's black lesbians
Wow.
that should have been in that film instead of like white college students, non-binary.
I
It's
can't take it.
embarrassing.
I
Yeah.
it is killing me. They're also changing our history. I'm sure you see
Well,
how
they are. They are.
one
I'm
of the
gonna use the language she used herself, and yeah,
wow, shocking. Well,
she
I just read where some college was giving a queer course where you could get a PhD in queer history, whatever that is. And then he got fired because they said that they're rewriting history, which they are. They're taking butch women and making them into trans men or non-binary. Like, man, here, so non-consensual and it's
yeah.
disgusting. It's disgusting.
I
And
mean,
I
there's
and saying
yeah,
and saying black trans women were the ones who created Stonewall. I'm like, no, they did not. And it's not racist to say that. They did not do that. I'm friends with Fred Sargent, who was literally there. What's happening? That's gross.
so, I mean, uh, I sent my niece a book about Polly Murray, and she read it, and
Yeah.
she said like, "Oh, they talked about Polly Murray in the class." I'm like, "That's awesome." And then she said, "We talked about what pronoun to use." And I'm like, "Sure." And then I'm like, so I was trying to explain it to my niece, but I said, "This isn't your teacher's fault
Oh,
because that's what
that's right.
they're being told."
That's right. That's right.
And but yeah, don't take history, people. You can't have Polly Murray, the person that started the National Organization for Women,
Oh
isn't
my God.
big.
I
Yeah,
cannot handle it. No, it's not right. We need to push
yeah.
back on this. That's literally rewriting history. And
Well,
I don't
it
know, they're doing some damage. They're doing
is.
serious damage to our community. And it's up to us as older people and elders in
Yeah,
this community, and it's up to the younger generation to see that this isn't real. And these people didn't use pronouns back then. That is completely insane. And she identified as a woman. Like it wasn't even a thing. She was a like what?
yeah. But
Uh,
even more than that, what I want people to understand is like, okay, there's ways that we treat each other. There's different ways to
yes,
look at being human and
yes,
to look at
right.
identity. And it's not transphobic
That's right.
to think about something
That's
different.
right.
Janice, we need to stand up. Okay. These are our daughters. Okay.
Thank you.
Like, don't be bullied. Don't be
That's
gaslit.
what it is.
And,
It's really,
you
yeah.
know, I mean, particularly younger people, yeah, like you can contact me because,
Great.
yeah,
Excellent. They
yeah,
need that because they're not getting that. And I think a lot of kids want to say something, but they feel like if they say something, they'll be kicked out of the club, right? That's what
exactly.
cults do. Cults do
Yep,
that. If
they
you don't go
do.
along with the language or the thing, like what
Yeah,
happened to debate? Like I like debating and like that's really
yeah,
powerful. You can change your mind through debate. You can learn so much. They took
yeah.
debate out of schools.
My God.
I'm not even kidding you.
Oh, and just, you
Pathetic.
know, I mean, figuring out who you are and all of that, it was lifelong.
Well, I didn't know you were a historian. That makes me really happy because we need to save our history before it
We do.
literally we do. It's going to be completely gone, and people will be like, "What are you talking about? That's not what
That
happened." I'm like,
happened.
I was around during the AIDS epidemic. I lost all my friends. Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking? Oh, AIDS never happened.
Oh
No, they're
my
going there now. It's so
God.
crazy. No, it's scary. It's actually
Um,
scary. I don't know who these people are, but they're not gay. I think a lot of the queers are not even gay people. I think they're like weird straight people. It's very
wow.
scary.
I mean, it's like our space, Matt. Don't let them take our language.
Please
Okay,
don't let
your language is yours. How
That's
you
right.
speak, how you think, it's yours.
That's right. No, brilliant. I love you. You're awesome. So
You are awesome.
So
This is a
thanks for
blast.
joining us, and thank you so much for
Yeah,
being so open and having the biggest balls to step up to the plate.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
right
why I'm
on. We're going to give people courage to do this.
an
So
honor.
I have a ton of lesbian friends that are going to just love this. So
Oh,
save the lesbians.
yes,
Seriously, man.
right.
It's
Oh, that's
gross.
right.
Like already, like the fact that we started the conversation with Mitch Fest was so
Okay.
dear to my heart.
Yeah,
It kills me every time I think about it. It kills me. It was such a special space that got destroyed because of the trans
yeah,
women, just so you
yeah.
know. It's gross. So they've been doing it for a while. They just caught up
Yeah,
today. It's
they have
so
been, and also, well, I can't wait. Tim McGinnis Russell, I'll send you that,
thank
and
you.
I'll send you the information from my book when it comes out.
Oh, yeah, I'll totally plug it. And I'll bring you back on and talk about it because that will be
Oh, thank
amazing. And
you.
also, we're really
Okay.
going to get people to take it. So thanks, Anna.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody,
Okay.
for watching. And remember, like, subscribe, do
Yeah.
comments. Anna's a beautiful human being. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday on the live.